Hello and welcome to Chrome Computing. In this video, we'll be looking at Google Drive and how you use Google Drive with Google Docs. That's your Word documents, spreadsheet documents, slide documents. So that's what we're going to look at right now in this video. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, it's not perfect. I've done this video because someone actually mentioned something about Google Drive and Google Docs and how Google Drive just becomes a dumping ground. So I looked into that and I do see the points that the person made because I can see how it can become a bit of a dumping ground. Now, there's reasons for that, and some of the reasons are us, and we need to change our habits. However, I also accept some of the reasons is because Google Docs and Google Drive isn't exactly perfect. There's still stuff that needs to be done. So I will quickly show you what I mean. Well, I won't quickly show you. This isn't going to be a quick video, unfortunately, but I will go into lots of detail to show you exactly what happens. So I think it's important with Google Drive and Google Docs to understand what happens and when and what the issues are and the best workarounds I've found. And the workarounds are actually quite good, if I'm being honest with you. If you do this as a one-off, then you'll be fine going forward. So it's about slightly changing how you create Google Docs and how you interact with Google Drive. If you do this, you'll make your life much easier for yourself. I'm definitely going to be doing it much more going forward. I'm guilty of it myself, if I'm being completely honest with you. So first of all, as far as Google Drive is concerned, you can get to it here from Chrome, because you've already logged into your Google account. Click on there and click on Google Drive like that. Just minimize this a bit. So that's your Google Drive, and another way of getting to Google Drive is by clicking on Google Drive down here. I've added it to my taskbar shelf here. If you've not, it's going to be in here somewhere. You'd have to look for it. I've got it there. So that's a way of getting to Google Drive as well. So that's my Google Drive. Now, Google Drive is great, and I think that's the issue. Google Drive is, because it works with the Chromebook seamlessly, they've added a lot of functionality to Google Drive, but I think people may tend to still be going to Google Docs to do things, but it's best to try and get into the habit of doing things in Google Drive instead, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. So if you go to Google Docs here, click on Google Docs, and that then opens there as a browser, which is a bit frustrating. You've got that little line there which shows it's a browser, nothing under Google Docs, even though it's Google Docs, can get a bit confusing. So as you can see in Google Docs, this will only show me at the moment all of my documents because I'm in Google Docs. It will show you all your recent documents for Google Docs. If you click on here and go to slides, it will show you all your recent documents for slides, which is fine as well. If we go back to Docs, say we went to open up a new document, you'll see here we've got loads of untitled documents. That's exactly the same on Google Drive. Go to your Google Drive and you will see untitled spreadsheet, untitled spreadsheet, untitled spreadsheet, untitled document, untitled document. Quite frustrating. So the reason why that is because when you go to Google Docs, when you create a new file, if anyone is new to the Chromebook, I've been using them for many years, but before the Chromebook, I was using Microsoft Windows computers from when they originally was launched. Yes, that's how old I am. Before that, I used to use Atari ST computers, which I love, but we won't go there. So I've been using Microsoft Windows computers from the very start right up to when Chromebooks come out. Still use them now when I need to. So I understand how it's very difficult to change your habits and understanding how things work. And I think that's the main problem. If you click here, at the moment, it's automatically called Untitled Document. Hence why we have a lot of Untitled Document. people just don't get into the habit of changing this file here, I think, is one of the problems you've got. Now, the reason for that is because there's no save as, which is great. It's great that you don't need to do save as. You know, if we move forward, you don't need to do that save as because it's cloud computing. And the great thing is you don't need to worry about losing your information because you've clicked on, you've done it in the cloud, so it just saves automatically. It's not saved anything at the moment, as you will see here shortly, because we've not typed anything. But if we just type anything like that, and as you can see up here, save to drive. Now it's saved to drive under the document Untitled Document. Also, if we close this now, just very quickly close Google Docs, we've done what we've needed to do, got the document, we know it's saved in Google Drive, so we just go close. Now this is what's creating this problem here, because everything you save automatically by default goes to your root folder or root directory, whatever you want to call it, on Google Drive. So it goes to the main part of Google Drive. It doesn't go anywhere else. So that's the first problem we have. So if you go back to Google Docs, open up another blank one just so we can show you, or I can show you. And here, first thing we need to do is to get into the habit of changing the file name straight away. So calling that 2021 doc, like that. Okay, and that's fine. However, that's not changed the issue about where that file will be saved. That file is still going to be saved in the root of Google Drive. And we should be able to see if we have a look. There we go, 2021 doc. They usually always appear at the bottom, brand new files. So that's where it is. Now, they will stay there, obviously, until you do something about it. And this is the main issue. I use folders, but I need to use folders a lot more. Issue is there's no place to put them. So first of all, let's go. We're going to jump over now to Google Drive from Docs, but we will be going back to Docs because I'm going to show you the best way of doing it. So at the moment, just to show you though, if we was in Google Docs, I said earlier there's no save as, which is absolutely correct. It just saves as it does. If you wanted to access Google Docs in this way, how I'm going to show you later on in the video, a better way to access Google Docs going forward. So what that means is you need to try and avoid using this Google Docs to get into your documents from at the beginning. But if you click on here, there's move, okay? Click on that and you'd have to choose where you wanted a document saved. So if you left it here, that would be in the root. That's where all of them documents just sit in there. You could create a new folder here, or you could put it into a folder you've already created. Now, I've not got any folders that are ideal for it. That's what you'd have to do with every single document. You'd have to, one, not necessarily name it, but if you didn't name it, you'd have lots of untitled documents. You'd have to do that, and then you would have to click on that if you wanted to stop having what was mentioned, this dumping ground. But there is a way around it, which we will get onto. So, first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a folder, and I'm going to call it Google Documents, and create that. And then from in there, I still want to sort it a bit more than that. So new folder and Google Docs, create, and quickly create Google Sheets and create Google Slides. So as we mentioned earlier with the breadcrumbs, you can see from my drive, it's Google Document, sorry, and if you click in there, you're now in Google Slides, Google Documents, My Drive. So now we've got the documents set up on Google Drive. You then can go in here, let's create a brand new document, you're creating a brand new document, you go up here, blank, put my caps lock on, learning how to use Google Drive with Docs. Okay, so now if we change that to, it's used a header, that does do that. So if you didn't click on that, it would just leave it as, I'm sure it definitely does, leave it as Untitled Doc. However, if you click on that, it will just use the first line. You don't need to leave it as that. You can obviously put whatever you want. Just put learning for now. Now, as I said, you've done that. If you wanted to put it in that folder we just created, every single time you create a document, you'd have to do this. And essentially, my problem with that is cloud computing has got away with the idea of having to do save as and choosing your location. So we want to try and avoid having to do stuff. That's the way technology is going. That's where technology will move even more going forward. As technology advances, it doesn't make it more difficult for us, the user. It makes it much easier. And I'm sure we'll get there in the future. We're just not just there quite yet. So although there's no file save as, essentially there is if you want to have to put that in a certain location, which you'd have to click on there. There's Google Docs, Documents. So you can either double click to get into that like that, click back to go back one, or you can just click on there and it will go into the documents like that. So go into the Google Docs and do move here. So that has moved that to there. Yeah, so if you go to Google Drive, it won't be in here called Untitled Documents. It will be in your Google Documents, Google Docs, and there we go. Great. My issue is I'm not happy with this whole idea of having to choose this move to, because let's be completely honest, in an ideal world would do, don't get me wrong now, I've looked into it a bit more for this video, that is what I would do, because I do want to try and get away from all of this, if I'm being honest with you, because it is an absolute mess. It's not too bad. If you saw my personal computer, Chromebook, it's an absolute nightmare. So it's not that bad at all. But what I'm going to do is show you a better way, because I have checked the settings. I've checked all of the settings in here, and there's nowhere where you can set a default drive in Google Drive, which would be the best option for them to do. Hopefully they will going forward. It would just simply mean adding a tool. There's preferences here. I was hoping in here you could click on default location for these docs. No. So you need to change your habits, because if you come in via Google Docs, which is this here, you'll have to do that, which is a bit of a pain. You can, let me just quickly show you something first of all before we come out of Google Docs. Learning, if you did need to quickly access that in the future, you can click on star there. Okay, and what that does, if you then close that, in your Google Drive, you've got a start option here. You click on that. Sorry, I just need to quickly do that to make sure the video is recording. You click on that and it's there. Yep, so that's fine. You can keep it starred. So you can do that with any of your files. I'm not going to go too much into this. We're going to a bit, but quickly go to add to starred. So you've got them there. If you want to take them out of starred, remove. And this is what we're going to do now. So this starred is what you want to be using going forward, but I'm going to show you how to do it. So if we close all these down, what I'm trying to get to is we need to get away from doing this when we want to create a document or a sheet or anything in Google Docs, because you have to go through this really annoying process of choosing your location. None of us do, or some of us might do, a lot of us don't do, which is why you end up with all of this mess. So the best way to do it, I've found from where I think the best way to do it at the moment, until things change, is by doing this. We've already created our folders. Yeah. So what you could do, you could either Google Docs, right click on Google Docs and click add to start like that. And then go on to start and you've got Google Documents, click on there, slides, go back one. You could do it that way, start, or if you wanted to, obviously that's an extra step. If you didn't want to do that extra step, you could remove that from start, go back to your drive, and instead of doing the main folder, it will all make sense in a second. So instead of doing your main folder, you can do them all separately like that. Add to start, and that's why I called it Google Slides. So I understand that its main folder is Google Docs, because once it's installed with Google Drive, I wouldn't necessarily know where that come from. So add to start, add to start. Now what that means is when you then go into start, you've got 3 folders straight away. And this is what you need to do if you want to start when you're creating documents using Google Docs. Create them doing it this way. You ain't going to do it the other way. So we've done all that. You want to create a document from scratch. Instead of going into Google Docs, go into Google Drive. Click on Start. Go into the document you're creating. If it's a spreadsheet, go in there. If it's a doc, go in there. So let's do Google Sheets on this occasion. And then just create New up here. Click on New, Google Sheets, blank spreadsheet. And that's opened it up on my other display. I'll just put it over. And there we go. So that's created this. Now, again, at the moment, we've still got Untitled Spreadsheet, but the difference is it will be saved in this location. And it might not sound like a massive change, but trust me, now I know that that's the best way to do it. I will be doing this going forward because I use Google Docs more and more now because I've gradually been moving away from my Microsoft computer to do most things. So I do use Google Docs a lot more than I have done before. So now I know this, I'll definitely be doing this. So again, you can leave it as Untitled Spreadsheet, but we need to try and get into the habit of changing that. So just spreadsheets, which is at the most best in the world. And then you can see it's saved. Now, the good thing is you don't need to then do this, because if you click on this, you'll already see where it's located, and it's already located in Google Sheets, spreadsheet, so that you don't need to move it. Because the reason why you don't need to move it is because you created it instead of going into Google Docs. You went into Google Drive, and then from Google Drive, went into Start, Google Sheets, New, and that's the way you created it. So it's remembering the location to save it. So although it's not perfect, don't get me wrong, like I says, there should be a preference in the actual Google Sheets, and there should be a preference in Google Docs. And I wish they'd change Google Docs as well. It's Google Docs, it's Google Docs, the Sheets as well, and that it's all a bit up in the air. They need to do something with that. And you've also got Google Slides. So there should be a preference in each one of them, which there isn't at the moment. So at the moment, I would say this is the best workaround. So I hope that video has helped in relation to how to use Google Drive with Google Docs and the best way to use Google Drive with Google Docs. There's so much more I could have got into. There's a lot more to it, but I don't obviously want to make this video too long. I would do separate videos, you know, how you share documents, and there's so much more you can do. But I think that's the basics, and I'm glad I've actually looked at this video today because I've learned quite a lot as well, which is great. So it's about making it easier for us, really. You know, if you're moving over to Chromebooks, the reason why is because they're so great to use, they're quick, they're fast, they're secure. What we need to do now is to start becoming experts on how we actually use the software, just like we were when using Microsoft computers, for example, which using them for over 20 odd years, you do obviously become to know exactly how it all works. So this is where, going forward, Google all the way. Well, not necessarily Google all the way. I don't work for it, and they definitely don't pay me for any of these videos. Chromebook all the way is what I meant. Anyway, I'm waffling now, so I'll stop. If you like the video, please like below and subscribe to the channel for future videos. And thanks for watching. Thank you. Bye.